everyone, and a warm welcome to the show. I am Omono Okonkwo with this week's edition of Energy Frontiers. Let's highlight some of the biggest headline news in Africa's energy industry this week. South African gold producer Harmony Gold has secured 10.2 billion rand to facilitate the building of 3 solar energy plants with a capacity of 10 megawatts each in order to decarbonize its operations. United Kingdom-based Impact Oil and Gas is considering selling its 20% stake in a large block in deep water off the coast of Namibia. Nairobi-based independent power producer Serengeti Energy is raising $80 million for its expansion across sub-Saharan Africa. South Africa-based gas producer Renergen has signed a $500 million debt retainer with the United States International Development Finance Corporation, looking to fund the second phase of its Virginia gas project located in the Free State province of South Africa. French independent company Perenco has signed a deal to acquire operatorship of the Etinde licensed offshore Cameroon from New Age African Global Energy. The United Nations Development Programme has granted $6.2 million to the Egyptian government to finance the transformation of Sharm el-Sheikh into a green city by the year 2028. Sharm el-Sheikh is the location for COP27, due to take place in Egypt by November this year. Kenya's Serengeti Energy is raising $80 million for its sub-Saharan Africa expansion, and that is the focus of our Energy Quick Chat this week. This is Energy Frontiers. Welcome back to the program. My guest on Energy Quick Chat for the week is Chris Bale, the Chief Executive Officer of Serengeti Energy. He spoke to me about his company's planned expansion in sub-Saharan Africa and a whole lot more. Enjoy our conversation. Before we dive deep into the chat, tell us, how was Serengeti Energy able to achieve a capital raise of $80 million?
Okay, well, it goes back to, I think, the legacy that the company inherited. Serengeti Energy may be a relatively new name in the energy sector in Africa, but we trace our roots back to the old Responsibility Renewable Energy Holdings, RARE business, and the REH Group in South Africa. And those two companies merged in 2021, and they bring with them a very significant track record. So we have 7 operating plants, 3 hydro plants in South Africa, 3 in Uganda, and 1 in Rwanda. So it's that combination of track record and then an exciting growth prospect ahead of us. We have a mission to grow the business in the future. Our existing investors who've been very supportive, KfW, Norfund, NDF, we're very pleased to see the new investors, Proparco, Stoa, and Swedfund, join them to participate in the growth opportunities that we see for the future of the company.
So what strategies are you adopting to invest in renewable energy projects across sub-Saharan Africa?
Well, the first element of our strategy clearly has to relate to markets where there is an appetite for private sector investment in the electricity sector. So that's the starting point for us. Thereafter, we look for markets where there is a growth opportunity. We are willing and able to go to relatively immature markets where perhaps there isn't a strong history of participation by private sector businesses. We have the patience, we have the resources, and we have the team to do that. But of course, we don't neglect the markets that we're already operating in. We like to get to a certain critical mass in each of our markets. That gives us good footprint, good presence, and it allows us to build sizable and robust and resilient teams in each of the markets in which we operate.
Okay, so where do you see sub-Saharan Africa's renewable energy access in the next 20 years?
Well, we see a huge amount of potential for renewable energy in sub-Saharan Africa. The competitive pricing of renewable energy means that it has now a starting advantage over alternative traditional fossil-fired generation sources. So there's an economic driver for renewable energy. There is also huge increasing demand and a significant unmet demand in many countries, as we know. Governments in many of our markets are looking to expand access to energy generally. They're looking for cost-effective and environmentally sustainable solutions. And I think renewable energy is set to be a big part of the solution for African countries over the course of the next 20 years. I think the electricity sector will be the predominant application of renewable energy for at least the foreseeable future. But once infrastructure becomes more reliable, more resilient, then I can increasingly see that transport will start to become electrified, which will offer even more opportunities. So I think we face an environment where there is much more opportunity, frankly, than we are able to address. But we're just one of the companies that's looking to work in this sector. And clearly there are many others as well. But I think we bring certain advantages, certain resources, certain skills, and we're a permanent capital vehicle. So we're a long-term investor. And that's, again, something which we see as an advantage for Serengeti Energy. It's something that we're fully positioned to exploit.
So what is Serengeti Energy's outlook for the remaining part of 2022?
Well, as I mentioned before, we have this significant track record that we've achieved so far with around 45 megawatts of capacity in operation. We're looking at a strong 2022. We have 2 more plants in construction, a solar PV plant in Malawi and another solar PV plant in Sierra Leone. Both of those plants will commission this year. We have had, as I guess many of the industry participants have had, issues arising from the sort of legacy of COVID and the various supply chain interruptions that has created. But coming into the end of the year, we see our capacity increasing to about 75 megawatts. And we will also be going into construction on at least 1 more solar PV plant this year. And we have an active pipeline of further developments, which will take us, I think, into at least 2 new projects going into construction in 2023. So we feel like we're really gaining momentum. We're really accelerating the pace of the company's growth. And that's something which both our existing shareholders and our newer investors are excited by. It's one of the key reasons why we have the level of financial support that we do from our investment group.
So tell us, what are your top 3 advocacy issues for Africa's energy transition?
Well, that's a big question. There are so many things that we could pick out in answer to that question, but let me just think. I think the first one would be that we would be advocating for stable and reliable and predictable regulatory and legal frameworks in the markets in which we aim to operate. Ours is a long-term business. It very much depends on that kind of stability and predictability in terms of the rules and the regulations within which we operate. So I think that would be the first one. My second suggestion would be that national governments need to support their national utilities to help them be sustainable for the future. You might think that, that kind of ask coming from a generation company is slightly counterintuitive, but we're all part of the same energy ecosystem. We're part of the same value chain. And if our host utilities, if our customer businesses are not sustainable, then that makes life more difficult for us as a renewable energy generator.
Welcome back to Energy Frontiers. Let's track the prices of some energy products. Early on Friday, the London Brent crude rose 0.67% to trade at $123.90 USD per barrel, while the US WTI climbed 0.73% to trade at $122.40 USD per barrel. Natural gas was trading up 1.75% to trade at 9.12 USD per MMBTU, also in early Friday trade. This week, a gallon of gasoline in Luanda, Angola, in Southern Africa, cost 606 Angolan kwanza. In Addis Ababa, the Ethiopian capital, a gallon of gasoline cost 140 Ethiopian birr. And that is the package for this edition of Your Energy Frontiers. And we thank you for watching. You can follow the show on Frontier Africa Reports website and across all our social media handles, as shown on the screen. It is goodbye from me, Omono Okonkwo, and I will see you next time.